Hi, my name is Debbie Martin, and I'm CEO here at ERA Cape Real Estate. We're in the Mid-Cape area. I had sent out a video recently regarding the new order, their new world order in real estate, regarding the new listing contracts for sellers and new buyers contracts for buyers, and why they came into being and what sorts of things are important about them. I wanted to focus today on buyer's contracts because, according to the Department of Justice, any agent, any licensed agent throughout the country, if they go to show you a property, they must present you with a buyer's contract. And the reason they must do that is because you have the right as a consumer to know what that buyer's agent does. You have the right as a consumer to know what to expect of them, what kinds of tasks, what kinds of skills they're bringing to the table. And more importantly, how is that buyer's agent being paid? And you're given choices on that contract as to how the buyer's agent is being paid. And the buyer's agent should have a lot of information for the houses that you're going to look at as far as what they may have already been offered insofar as a buyer's agent fee for any one of those houses. So it is conceivable that you'd be going out to see 3 houses. And the buyer's agent says, well, on this house on 123 Main Street, the seller has offered you, Mr. Buyer, a credit. Would you be willing to use that credit to pay my fee? That's one way they could be paid. On XYZ Street, the listing agent has been instructed by the seller to share their fee with me, and that's how I'm going to be paid. Okay? And in the third house we're going to see, nothing's been offered from the seller or the listing agent. However, the listing sheet does encourage all offers, and we can put on the offer what you'd like the seller to pay for as far as my fee. I'm going to go over all that with you in this contract and tell you all about it. So those are basically the options of how buyer's agents can be paid. What's the legal way that they can be paid? And all the information that you should have up front before you even go in the house. So you have all that knowledge before you go in the house. Why is that contract important? From an agent who's been in the business for 40 years, I never used buyer agent contracts prior to this. I felt that my service and those of the agents that worked for me was good enough, and that we have a huge return rate of customers and clients. And to me, that says that people like what we do and how we do it. However, the Department of Justice feels that it needs to be in writing. And actually, as I begin to use these contracts, I think they may be right. I think it's probably a very good idea, because it gives me the opportunity to put down in writing what I'm going to do for you. And there's a lot. There's a lot of lists as far as what buyer's agents can do for their buyers. But let me tell you a quick story, and I think this story says it all. I received an offer on a house on one of our listing agents in the company, and the listing had been advertised in MLS that the septic had failed, and that the seller was going to put a new septic in prior to closing. Good information. The buyer's agent who showed that house to a buyer wrote up an offer that simply said that the seller would be installing a new Title V prior to closing. They're not a very good buyer's agent because they weren't protecting their buyer. The buyer's agent has one focus, and that's you, the buyer. It's not the seller, it's not themselves. It is their client, the buyer. The septic began to be installed in that house. The buyer came down to see the progress of the septic installation. And when he arrived, he found that the septic that was going in was going to be above ground, which really upset him. And so he came into my office very upset that he didn't know that the septic was going to be above ground. And I reminded him that at the time of his offer, we didn't have the septic plan yet. It hadn't been done, so I didn't know either. But that unfortunately his agent did not ask for the plan, did not ask for plan approval, and did not give the buyer the option of getting that approval or giving that approval and even voiding the sale if that's what he wanted to do. So because that agent, the buyer's agent, was not acting in the best interest of the buyer, it ended up costing the buyer quite a bit of money because he needed to redo the plans of that system to put in a much more expensive system that didn't require it to be so far above ground. He should never have been put in that circumstance. And I think that story tells you all you need to know. You need a good buyer's agent. It's critical. It can save you tens of thousands of dollars. And it's serious. And a good buyer's agent has your best interest as their number one priority. Not their own, and certainly not the seller's, but yours. It's a valuable asset, and you should take advantage of it. Buyer's contracts are a good thing. Thanks for listening, and give me a call if you have any questions. Thanks a lot.